Speaking. Hare Krishna. You can hear me? Okay. You're saying you can talk now. Okay. Okay. Hare Krishna. Sorry, there was some technical issue. First time we were trying out the video, my audio wasn't audible. So we'll start again. So this week for the scripture study class, I've been asked to talk from Canto 2, Chapter 6, verses 17 to 28. So I'll try my best to speak something. And I was just told this morning, and when service comes, you just take it. So I just said, yes, I can give the class. But in my mind, then they told me it's from second canto. And I was like, oh, no, second canto, that's a very technical section of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I was hoping it'll be from one part of second canto, which is a bit more easier. Like there's some parts of second canto which is less philosophical, and the other parts are very technical to do with Virat Roop and those kind of things, how the universe was created. And then when I finally saw the chapter and the text, I was, the thing which I was hoping I wouldn't be assigned to give class on, that's the thing that came. So it's a very technical chapter. It's Canto 2, Chapter 6, it's titled The Purusha Sukta Confirmed. So text 17 to 28 will cover. So I'll try my best. And so I'll just quickly give a little overview of a little background to this chapter. So I'll just read you something from the Bhagavad Subodhini. So second canto of Bhagavatam, it's divided into like 3 sections. So the first section of the second canto, it talks about the superiority of Bhakti Yoga. So if we all remember at the end of first chapter of first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj, he puts forward questions to Sukadeva Goswami. What is the duty of a person at the time of death? And then naturally Sukadeva Goswami will talk about the path of Bhakti Yoga. So that's how the first section, so it's from chapters 1 to 3, it discusses about the path of Bhakti, the superiority of Bhakti over everything else. And then Maharaj Parikshit, he puts forward some questions in the 4th chapter of second canto. And he asked Sukadeva Goswami to please explain the details of Sarga and Visarga, or primary creation and secondary creation. So primary creation is the creation done by Mahavishnu. He lies on the causal ocean. From the pores of his body, all the universes will start manifesting, and so on. So that's to do with that's the primary creation of the material world, which is done by Mahavishnu, glancing at the material energy, the Mahatattva, the elements, and all those sort of things will be discussed in second canto. And the secondary creation, that's the creation done by Brahma. So Vishnu, he enters into each universe as Garbhadakshari Vishnu. Then from his navel, Lord Brahma comes, and then Brahma, he will do the secondary creation inside each of these universes. So Parikshit Maharaj, he asks these questions at the start of 4th chapter of second canto. And in answer to these questions by Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami, he will refer to another conversation, or to a similar conversation that took place between Narad Muni and Lord Brahma. And Sukadeva Goswami, who will cite this conversation between Narad and Brahma as an answer to Parikshit Maharaj's questions. And this is in 5th chapter of second canto. And in this conversation between Narad and Brahma, Narada, he puts forward 6 questions towards Lord Brahma, which is similar to Parikshit Maharaj's questions. So that's why Sukadeva Goswami is citing this conversation in answer to Parikshit Maharaj's questions. So these 6 questions that Narad Muni asked to Lord Brahma at the start of the 5th chapter of second canto, they're as follows. Question number 1, what is the characteristics of this universe? What is the ultimate shelter of the universe? That's number 2. Number 3, he asked questions about the creation of the universe. Then number 4, the ingredients of the universe. Number 5, the conservation or dissolution of the universe. And number 6, the dependence of the universe. So all these technical questions about the creation, maintenance, dissolution of the universe, the material ingredients which form the universe. So all these different questions Parikshit Maharaj or Narad Muni, he asked to Lord Brahma. And in today's chapter, which we're discussing, which is chapter 6 of the second canto, it's titled The Purusha Shukta Confirmed. It's in response to the fourth question of Narad Muni, which is to do with the ingredients of the universe. So that's why at the start of this chapter, chapter 6, Brahma, he talks about how Garbhadaksha is Vishnu's limbs provide the ingredients for the universe. So at the start of this chapter, from text 1 to 16, you're given a very technical description of the different elements and sense objects, being produced and formed in the universe. So we won't be discussing that. Today I've been asked to talk from 17 to 28. So we'll be talking from that section of the 6th chapter of second canto. And this section, from text 18 to 22, it talks about Ekapad Vibhuti versus Tripad Vibhuti. Or it talks Ekapad Vibhuti, that refers to the material world, which is 1/4 of the total creation. And Tripad Vibhuti, that's talking about the spiritual world, which is like three-fourths of the whole creation. So there'll be a comparison made between the material world and the spiritual world in this section, from text 18 to 22. And then from 23 to 30, which we'll also discuss, Brahma will talk about his own experience, about how Krishna or Vishnu, he is actually the material cause of this whole universe. So in the second canto, there's so many technical descriptions given, and sometimes it feels, when we read, we just get a bit lost, like what is the main point of all this? One main lesson we can take from all of this is how Krishna is the Sarva Karana Karanam, how Krishna is the supreme cause of everything. Firstly, for the primary creation, who is the primary creation done by? It's done by Krishna himself through his expansion, Mahavishnu. All the material universes are created, and it is only through him all the elements, they form, and so on. And then only through him Brahma comes. And even for the secondary creation to happen, again, Brahma, he has to take help of Vishnu himself. He has to get empowerment from Vishnu himself to do the secondary creation. So in this way, Bhagavatam is helping us understand how everything we see around us, everything is, Krishna is the cause of everything. Vishnu is the cause of everything. This whole universe around us, it's all situated on Krishna's energy. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mata Paratram Nanyat Kinchid Asti Dhananjaya, how I am the absolute truth, there is nothing superior to me. All these worlds, all the material universes, they're all situated on me. And that's like one main theme we can take from this. And not only is Krishna the cause of the whole creation of these material universes, but even the ingredients by which this universe is formed, those ingredients also come from Krishna. So in this way, we can see how Krishna is everywhere. And everything is caused by Krishna. He is the ingredients. He is the cause of the ingredients intertwining together and creating planets and living entities and so on. So in this way, the person reading Bhagavatam, he gets that feeling of awe and reverence, how, okay, Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Everything is coming from him. I am so tiny, I am so insignificant. And one naturally feel to surrender himself onto Krishna's lotus feet. So we'll start now with reading the text that we're assigned today. So second canto, chapter 6. We will start from text 17 and go to 28. Okay, text number 17. Swadisyam pratapan prano bahischa pratapati aso evam virajam pratapams tapati antarbahi puman. The sun illuminates both internally and externally by expanding its radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality Godhead, by expanding his universal form, maintains everything in the creation, both internally and externally. We'll read the purport. The universal form of the Lord, or the impersonal feature of the Lord known as the Brahma Jyoti, is clearly explained here and compared to the radiation of the sun. The sunshine may expand all over the universe, but the source of the sunshine, namely the sun planet, or the deity known as Surya Narayan, is the basis of such radiation. Similarly, the Supreme Personality Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the basis of the impersonal Brahma Jyoti radiation, or the impersonal feature of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 14.27. So the universal form of the Lord is the secondary imagination of the impersonal form of the Lord. But the primary form of the Lord is Shamashundra, with 2 hands playing on his eternal flute. 75% of the expansive radiation of the Lord is manifested in the spiritual sky, Tripad Vibhuti. And 25% of his personal radiation comprehends the entire expansion of the material universes. This is also explained and stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.42. Thus, the 75% expansion of his radiation is called the internal energy, whereas 25% expansion is called the external energy of the Lord. So this is a nice little, this text gives you a little bit of prelude of the following verses, which will compare the material world and the spiritual world. So in this text, Bhagavatam is giving a nice analogy of the sun, how it illuminates its radiation throughout the universe. So in the same way, Bhagavatam or Prabhupada is explaining that in the same way, Krishna, from his bodily light, which is known as the Brahma Jyoti, he is manifesting himself throughout the entire creation. And Prabhupada is explaining that this bodily, just like the sun is giving up radiation in all directions. So in the same way, from Krishna's body, there is this light, transcendental light or radiation, which is emanating. And this light emanating from Krishna's body is the Brahma Jyoti. And Prabhupada is explaining in this purport that 75% of this expansive radiation from the Lord is manifested in the spiritual sphere. So that's Tripad Vibhuti. So the Bhagavatam explains that the spiritual world is considered to be 3/4 of the entire creation, and then 1/4 of the entire creation is the material world. So Prabhupada is helping us understand that you can imagine there's this light coming from Krishna's body, that's the Brahma Jyoti, and 3/4 of this light, that's where the spiritual world is situated. And then 1/4, Prabhupada explains, and 25% of his personal radiation comprehends the entire expansion of the material universes. So all the material universes, they're situated in 1/4 of the Brahma Jyoti. And that's like the dark section, it's covered over by Maya or the Mahatattva. And that's where Mahavishnu, he glances at material energy and so on. So that's a nice little prelude or analogy being given of what will come in the following verses. So we'll go to text number 18. Somritasya bhayasye somartyamanam yat atyagat mahime satato brahman purusasya duratyaya. The Supreme Personality Godhead is the controller of immortality and fearlessness, and he is transcendental to death and the fruitive actions of the material world. O Narada, O Brahmana, it is therefore difficult to measure the glories of the Lord. In the purport, it's a big purport, so we have a lot of text to cover today, so we won't go through all of it, just a few points here and there we'll discuss. So in the second page of this purport, it's on the bottom of the second page, like down here, the line starts like this: the Lord is not like the mundane Lord. The mundane master or Lord never enjoys equally with his subordinates, nor is a mundane Lord immortal, nor can he award immortality to a subordinate. The Supreme Lord, who is the leader of all living entities, can award all the qualities of his personality onto his devotees, including immortality and spiritual bliss. So in this verse, it's talking about how Krishna, he's the Lord of both the worlds, the material world and spiritual world. And some descriptions are given of the spiritual world, how in spiritual world is Amrita, there is eternality, there's no birth or death, Abhaya, there's fearlessness, and so on. And in the purport, Prabhupada mentions this very nice point. Prabhupada is saying that the Lord is not like a mundane master. The mundane master or Lord never enjoys equally with his subordinates. So in ordinary dealings, we see in the material world, Prabhupada is explaining that you have a master and a servant. The master always enjoys more than the servant. his level of happiness, his level of enjoyment is always a greater degree, a greater extent to that of the servant. The master, he'll have the best food, best enjoyment, best facilities, and the servant will just get little tiny paycheck or little facilities to enjoy. The servant will always be, there'll be so much of a big gap in terms of enjoyment between the master and the servant. The servant, we never see anywhere the servant enjoying on a completely equal platform to the master. But Prabhupada's explaining in this purport that Krishna is so kind that when we serve Krishna, Krishna is so kind to his devotees that the devotees of Krishna, they enjoy on an equal platform to Krishna. So I'll read that section of the purport again. The mundane master lord never enjoys equally with his subordinates. Nor is a mundane lord immortal, nor can he award immortality to his subordinate. The Supreme Lord, who is the leader of all living entities, can award all the qualities of his personality unto his devotees, including immortality and spiritual bliss. So Prabhupada is explaining this very beautiful point, that Krishna is so kind and compassionate to his devotees, that unlike the mundane master, whatever Krishna has with himself, he just fully gives us to his devotees. Okay, Krishna is immortal, so one who takes shelter of his lotus feet, Krishna makes them also immortal. Krishna frees them from the cycle of birth and death. Krishna is all blissful, so whoever takes shelter of his lotus feet, Krishna also makes them fully blissful. They won't experience material pains or anxieties anymore. They'll always be happy and blissful. Krishna has so many beautiful qualities that we hear in Nectar of Devotion. And again, as we serve Krishna, as we come closer and closer to Krishna, all these beautiful qualities like forgiveness, compassion, kindness, being gentle, all these amazing qualities that Krishna has, all these beautiful transcendental traits that Krishna has, all these qualities Krishna bestows upon his devotees. So a mundane master, Prabhupada is explaining, he will just give his servant a little bit just to maintain the servant, but majority of things he'll just keep to himself, he'll just enjoy personally. But Krishna is the other way around. He feels so much gratitude towards his devotees and compassionate that whatever he has within himself, he just bestows as blessings upon his devotees. So in this way, Prabhupada is helping us understand how kind and compassionate Krishna is. One example the Bhagavatam gives is that of the sun. We have the sun, and the sun is radiating so much heat. And the Acharyas explain that you take an object, and the closer and closer that object comes towards the sun, the more and more hotter that object will become. The more and more qualities of the sun that object will acquire. So you can imagine the sun is here, and there's a certain object. And as the object is coming closer and closer to the sun, the object will become more and more hotter, or the object will start acquiring the qualities of the sun more and more in proportion to how close it's coming towards the sun. So in the same way the Acharyas explain, the more we advance in devotional service, the more bhakti we develop, the more closer we come to the lotus feet of Sri Sri Radha Gopinath, the more divine qualities of Krishna we ourselves will acquire. So when we read Krishna book, when we read Bhagavatam, and we read of so many beautiful, amazing qualities of Krishna, all these qualities of Krishna will manifest in ourselves as we advance in bhakti. The closer we become to Krishna, to Radha Gopinath, the more advanced our consciousness becomes. All these qualities, Krishna, he himself will bestow upon us. So this is one very beautiful point that Prabhupada is mentioning in his purport about, unlike the mundane master, Krishna, whatever he has within his facility, he just bestows upon his devotees. And another thing Prabhupada is explaining, that fearlessness. So Krishna is fearless, and whoever takes shelter of his lotus feet, they also become fearless. Another verse is there in the Uddhava Gita 11th canto in relation to this, where Uddhava is talking to Krishna, and in one very beautiful verse, Uddhava establishes that why Krishna is the Supreme Lord and Master, why we should all surrender unto Krishna, why there is no greater master than Krishna himself. So in this beautiful verse of 11th canto, it starts something like this: Tasmad bhavantam anavajam anantaparam nirvitadhi Sarvagya Ishvara Akunta Vikunta Dishyam. So in this verse, Uddhava is saying that Tasmat, therefore, I'm going to surrender unto your lotus feet. Why? He gives many reasons. He says, Tasmat Bhavantam Anavajyam. First reason he mentions is that Krishna, you're Anavajyam. Anavajyam means that Krishna has no discrepancies in his character. So there's a very beautiful purport given to this verse by Hirananda Maharaj in 11th canto. And Maharaj in his purport is explaining that in our ordinary life, we see all around us, it could be our husband or our wife, our father, mother, our best friend, our most beloved, so on, anyone around us. None of these personalities who we hold very dear to our heart, none of them are 100% perfect. All of them, they'll have some faults. We really love our parents, we really love our wife or our husband, our children, our friends, and so on. But there are certain traits or things about all these different personalities around us that we find fault in, that we see that, okay, they're mostly good, but they have these discrepancies in this character, that they're very nice and friendly, but sometimes they get a bit too angry and they get upset and this irritates us, or they have this discrepancy, or they have this anartha or that anartha. So all around us, the people we love, they all have some faults. They all have some discrepancies in their personal character. But Uddhava is saying there is one person out there who we can take shelter of, who has no discrepancies in character, who is 100% perfect, and who can perfectly emote with us and perfectly have a loving relationship with us. And he has zero anarthas, he has no discrepancies in his character. So that's the meaning of the word anavajyam. So that's the first reason Uddhava gives of why we should take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. All persons around us, they all have some faults. Even to a small degree, they all have some anartha or some faults we see. But Uddhava says, Krishna, you're that one person who has zero faults in your character. You're anavajyam, you have no personal discrepancies in your character. Therefore, we can fully trust you. Therefore, we can fully surrender unto your lotus feet, having that faith that you are supremely pure, you have no discrepancies in your character, you can fully take care of me. So with that confidence, with that faith, we can take shelter of your lotus feet. So that's reason number one Uddhava gives. Tasmad bhavantam anavajyam. Then ananta param. Ananta means unlimited, or no bounds, no limits. And ananta param means that Krishna, you are not bound by time and space. So this is another amazing quality of Krishna, which distinguishes Krishna from all these other personalities around our life. So again, Hirananda Maharaj, he dissects this verse and he further expands. He says the people around us, like let's say our parents, we look up at our parents for protection, they're always out there to take care of us, or a partner or a wife or a husband, they're our guardian, they're always there with us. But Maharaj explains that all these persons around us, our parents, our best friend, our wife or husband, our cousin, or so on, all these persons, they're bound by time and space, meaning they can't be with us 24 hours a day. Okay, in the morning, you're present with your wife or a husband, or you're present with our parents, but after breakfast, we have to go out. Either we go to high school, we go to university, or we go to work, and we're separated. So our parents, our husband, our wife, our friends, all these persons around us, they can't be present with us 24 hours a day. It's impossible. They can't just be out there physically present with us for our protection, to take care of us 24 hours a day. Secondly, they're all, again, their lifespan is temporary. We have our parents for a certain number of years or decades, and a time will come when our parents will have to leave our body and go away. A time will come when our spouse or a partner will have to leave the body and go away, and we'll be here by ourselves. Our friends, most dear loved ones, they all, again, their lifespan is temporary. Once, some time will come in the future when they'll have to leave the body and will be bereft of their association, and they won't be present here physically with us anymore. So that's this way Hirananda Maharaj explains, that's you can see the discrepancy of the people around us, that they can't be present with us 24 hours a day, And secondly, they can't be present with us eternally. It's not like eternally our parents will be always die out with us. Eternally we'll be present with our wife or our husband. No, as the Bhagavatam explains, just like in a river, you'll see one twig and another twig just briefly come together just by chance and interact, and then the current of the river will force them to go down and the twigs will separate, and that twig will go to another twig, and in this way, by chance, by destiny, different living entities, they come together and they have relationships, and then time separates them. But Uddhava is explaining that Krishna, you're different. You are 24 hours because you're not limited by time and space. 24 hours a day, you are present with us as Paramatma. And you are present with us eternally, lifetime after lifetime. So in this way, Uddhava, he establishes why Krishna is the supreme shelter, why we should all take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. So point number one, Krishna has no discrepancies in his character. Point number two, Uddhava mentions, Krishna, you're not limited by time and space. So you're present there with us 24 hours a day. Whenever we need you, you're there with us. Not just in this lifetime, but lifetime after lifetime. Eternally, you're out there with us and present. Therefore, if there is one person we should take shelter of, it's you, Krishna, only. So that's the second point. Tasmad bhavantam anavajyam anantaparam. Then the next one he mentions is sarvagyan. Sarvagyan means all-knowing. Krishna, you know everything. And again, Maharaj, he expands on this point and he explains that in our ordinary affairs, in the material world, say our parents or our spouse or our friends, they're not all-knowing. They don't understand. They have some understanding what we like, what we don't like, but they don't have that full omniscience of what will really please us, what we really like. And sometimes Maharaj explains, out of goodwill, out of proper consciousness, just like with proper mood, we'll do something to serve our parents or our children, but the children will mistake that. And instead of seeing our service mood, instead of seeing with what consciousness we were doing things, they will mistake that and they will think something bad about it, or they won't even notice. So we all have this experience that for a beloved one, like let's say a parent, they do something for their children and they do a spiritual activity for the benefit of the children, but the children, they don't fully realize or they don't fully have that gratitude of all the sacrifice that that particular parent did to do this particular activity for them. And then the parents feel a bit hurt. I sacrificed so much to do this thing for my son or daughter, but he doesn't fully appreciate what I did. He doesn't fully understand how much sacrifice, how much pain I went through to do so much for him. So we come across these situations many times in life, where to do with our children or with our husband or our wife or our best friend. Sometimes out of goodwill or proper consciousness, we'll try and do something for their good, but they won't fully appreciate, they won't fully understand how much pain, how much hardship we went through to do that for them. And because they're not omniscient, because they're not all-knowing, they can't see all the pains and hardships we went to do this particular thing for them. They can't reciprocate with the same with the proportion of gratitude towards us. And in this way, we're a bit hurt. But Hridayananda Maharaj explains that Uddhava is saying that Krishna is omniscient, he is sarvagya, he is all-knowing. So every single hardship, pain that we've gone through in Krishna's service, Krishna notices, because Krishna is there personally present in our heart as the super soul, as Paramatma. So every single hardship that we go through in devotional service, no matter what it is, Krishna, he personally takes account and he personally reciprocates with that. Unlike our dealings in the material world with our friends and family, they're not present in our heart, they can't fully understand what we're going through, all those things that we've done for them. We might have done a lot of things, but they can't fully appreciate because they don't have that all-knowing feature. But Krishna, because he's all-knowing, he fully notices and he records every single thing we're doing. He knows exactly what thoughts are going in our mind. He knows exactly every single small detail of thoughts and activities that we're doing in his service. And in this way, Krishna is able to fully reciprocate with us. So again, this is the third reason Uddhava says that why one should surrender onto Krishna's lotus feet. So number 3 is sarvagya. Number 4 Uddhava gives is Ishvara. Ishvara means Krishna is the supreme controller. So because Krishna is the supreme controller of everything, everyone, as the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, Ekala Ishwar Krishna or Sab Brija, which means Krishna is the one supreme Lord, master or controller. Everyone else is Krishna's servant. All the demigods, Brahma, Shiva, everyone else, including Mahavishnu, all the expansions of Krishna, everyone else is acting as Krishna's servant. So if Krishna is the supreme boss of everything, as we're reading in this section of Bhagavatam, this section of Bhagavatam is helping us understand how Krishna is the supreme Lord and Master, not only of all the material worlds, but also of the spiritual. Everything is coming from him. He's maintaining everything. He's creating everything. He's annihilating everything. The ingredients to make all this universe is also coming from him. In this way, this is what this section of Bhagavatam is helping us understand. So if Krishna is that one big guy, that one boss, under whom everything else is working, then who better to take shelter of than Krishna? He is the supreme Lord and Master. Everything is working under him. So if we have any trouble, if we come across any challenge in life, then who better to go through than to that person at the top, Krishna. So in this way, Uddhava explains or establishes that therefore, my Lord, because you are anavajam, because you have no discrepancies in your personal character, unlike all the other persons around me, because you're not limited by time and space, because you can personally be present with me 24 hours a day, eternally, lifetime after lifetime, unlike the others around me. And number three, because you're Sarvagyan, because you're omniscient, because you fully understand my mind, you fully understand what emotions I'm going through, because you fully understand what desires I have in my heart. And number four, because you are Ishwar, because you're the Supreme Lord and Master. Therefore, I'm taking shelter of your lotus feet. Therefore, it is your lotus feet only which is worshipable, and it is your lotus feet only which everyone should surrender unto. So in this way, it's a very beautiful verse of Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto that Uddhava is establishing of why, as bhaktas, we should take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. And these points are very nice to remember and meditate on, and they'll increase our faith and our determination to serve Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. And similar point Prabhupada was expanding on in this purport. And we'll continue on, text 19 of chapter 6, canto 2. Padesu sarva bhutani pumsas titi pado vibhu amritam shema abhayam trimurdno adhayi murdhasu. The Supreme Personality Godhead is to be known as the supreme reservoir of all material opulences by the 1/4 of his energy in which all the living entities exist. Deathlessness, fearlessness, and freedom from anxieties of old age and disease exist in the kingdom of God, which is beyond the 3 higher planetary systems and beyond the material coverings. So in this verse, Lord Brahma is talking about the spiritual world, and some of the characteristics given of the spiritual world is deathlessness. There's no birth and death. Everyone says immortal. Fearlessness. There's no concept of fear. And there is no anxieties of old age and disease. So all these things exist in the spiritual world, unlike the material world. So we'll continue on. Text number 20. Padastrayo bahishchasan aprajanam cha ashramaha antas trilokyasti apparo griha medo brihadvrataha. The spiritual world, which consists of 3/4 of the Lord's energy, is situated beyond this material world and is especially meant for those who will never be reborn. Others who are attached to family life and who do not strictly follow celibacy vows must live within the 3 worlds. So again, continuing on, Brahma is explaining the spiritual world consists of 3/4 of the Lord's entire energy, and it is beyond this material world. And Brahma is explaining what is the qualification. And Brahma is saying that those who are attached to family life and who do not strictly follow celibacy vows must live in the 3 material worlds. So Brahma is explaining if we want to get out of this material world and go to the spiritual world, which consists of 3/4 of the Lord's creation, he gives 2 qualifications. One is we need to detach ourselves from family life, and we need to strictly follow celibacy vows. So does this mean that only one who is in the renounced order of life, only one who is in saffron, only one is a sannyasi and is following celibacy, not married, not having any family life, only sannyasis can go back to Godhead. No, that's not the point here. And this point, you'll see we've discussed so many times. Prabhupada, he explains in his purport so many times that when Brahma is saying one needs to detach himself from family life, it doesn't mean that one has to just take up sannyas and that's it. And only those who have taken sannyas, only they can go back to Godhead. It's not like that. Prabhupada says one can be in the Grihastha ashram, one can have family life, but at the same time one can be detached from them. How? By keeping Krishna in the center of the family life. So instead of seeing one's wife, instead of seeing one's husband and one's children and relatives as separate from Krishna, as persons meant to satisfy our senses, we see everyone in relationship to Krishna. So we see our wife, we see our husband, and this is a devotee of Krishna, and I have to take care of him, I have to take care of her, and we need to work together in Krishna's service. And the children, you see them as, these are Krishna's children, these are Krishna's devotees. It is my duty to bring them up in a Krishna conscious way. I try my best to make my children into devotees, as that's my responsibility. And as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, that sex life according to religious principles, I am non-different from that. So in the Grihastha ashram, if someone's begetting Krishna conscious children, bring them up in a Krishna conscious way, that is service to Radha Gopinath's lotus feet. That is devotional service. So that's not material. So in this way, although externally, from the eyes of material vision, it seems that those who are in family life, devotees in family life, that they're attached to their family. Actually, the attachment is not exactly to the family, it's actually towards Krishna. The devotee, he sees everyone in his family, he sees all the relatives in relationship to Krishna. So in this way, the attachment it's not a material attachment, it's a spiritual attachment. One sees his wife as Krishna's devotee, one sees his husband as Krishna's devotee, one sees his children as Krishna's devotee. So in this way, the consciousness becomes Krishna consciousness instead of family consciousness. So when Brahma is saying that to get out of this material world, we need to become detached from family life, he's talking about the Griha Medis or Karmis who are just in family life just for sense gratification. They're not there to, Krishna is not the focus of their family life. But many times in Prabhupada's quote, he'll explain this point, that there's a difference. There's the Griha Medis, and then there's the Grihastha ashram. And the Grihastha ashram is the bona fide ashram or bona fide shelter in which we can practice spiritual life. And how is that? You keep Krishna in the center. Just like the sannyasis, they have Krishna at the center. They have to travel and preach Krishna's glories from town to town. The brahmacharis, they stay in the ashram of the spiritual master, and they serve the spiritual master, assist the spiritual master in his preaching work of spreading Krishna's glories. So in the same way, the Grihastha ashram is the ashram where the husband and wife, they work together with the children in glorifying Krishna. And number two, Brahma is saying that to get out of this material world, we need to strictly follow celibacy vows. So again, Prabhupada, you've all probably heard this, Prabhupada says there's the brahmachari, and there's also the grihastha brahmachari. So if a person in family life, if he only engages in sex life to produce Krishna conscious children, then he's also to be considered as celibate. He's also to be considered as a brahmachari. So we'll go to the next text number 21. Stri vichakrame visvan sasanana sane ube yada vidya cha purusastu bhayashrayaha. By his energy, the all-pervading personality of Godhead is thus comprehensively the master in the activities of controlling and in devotional service. He is the ultimate master of both nescience and the factual knowledge of all situations. So in this text, Lord Brahma is explaining that Krishna is the master of both. He is the master of ignorance and he is the master of knowledge of all situations. So it is due to ignorance we take up the demonic mentality, we go away from Krishna, and it is due to knowledge that we come to light, we come to Krishna's lotus feet and we serve Krishna. And both come from him. As Prabhupada many times who quote the words Sarvasya Charam Hridayasanivisto Mata Smritirgana Pohanam Cha, that not only does remembrance come from Krishna, but forgetfulness also comes from Krishna. So if someone is hell-bound to forget Krishna. Krishna, obviously, he doesn't want anyone to become a demon and forget him. So Krishna will try and stop them, but if they're really insistent and they just want to be a demon and forget him, then Krishna will sanction that forgetfulness. Krishna will make them forget himself. So Prabhupada explains, even to be a demon, even to forget Krishna and to be a demon, you need Krishna's mercy. You can't be a demon on your own endeavor. Even to be a demon and forget Krishna, you need Krishna's mercy. So in this way, you see the Shastras, the Bhagavatam, through so many angles is helping us appreciate how Krishna is just everywhere. He's just doing everything. He's creating the universes. He's inside the universe. All the material elements. He's the material elements. Bhumi, Rapo, Nalavayu, Kamanu, Buddhi, Evacha. All these material elements, earth, water, fire, air, mind, intelligence, ego. It's all also coming from Krishna. He's the ingredients himself. And he's also the cause of the ingredients intertwining and making everything. All these personalities who are managing the universe. Where are they getting the intelligence? That intelligence is coming from him. All the demons we see around the universe, where they're getting the inspiration to be a demon, that's also coming from Krishna. So in this way, the Shastras help us understand how Krishna is everything. He's just everywhere. So in this way, when one fully understands this, he can be Krishna conscious by seeing Krishna's hand in everywhere and everything. So we'll continue on, next verse. Text number 22. Yasmad andam virajagne bhutendriya gunatmaka tadravyam atyagad viswam gobi surya ivatapan. From that Supreme Personality Godhead, all the universal globes and the universal form with all material elements, qualities, and senses are generated. Yet he is aloof from such material manifestations, like the sun, which is separate from its rays and heat. We'll read the purport for this one. The Supreme Truth has been ascertained in the previous verse as Purusha or the Purushottama, the Supreme Person. The Absolute Truth is the Ishvara or the Supreme Controller by its different energies. The Ekapad Vibhuti manifestation of the material world, of the material energy of the Lord, is just like one of the many mistresses of the Lord, by whom the Lord is not so much attracted, as indicated in the language of the Gita, Bhina Prakriti. But the region of the Tripad Vibhuti, being a pure spiritual manifestation of the energy of the Lord, is, so to speak, more attractive to him. So, Prabhupada is explaining here, or this translation is explaining of how, so far we were discussing how Krishna is Sarva Karana Karana, how he is the cause of everything. Everything is happening by his energies. He's the cause of everything. But in this verse, Bhagavatam is explaining, although he's the cause of everything, although he's creating everything, although everything is going under his direction, at the same time, he is aloof from everything. He is enjoying in the spiritual world, and he is aloof from all these material affairs. That's what this verse is explaining. And Prabhupada, in the purport, he explained that the Ekapad Vibhuti, or the 1/4 of the material manifestation, the material creation, material universes, of the material energy of the Lord, is just like one of the many mistresses of the Lord, by whom the Lord is not so much attracted. So Prabhupada is giving this example that just as one might have many maidservants, and one of the maidservants might not be so attractive, so one doesn't pay so much attention to that maidservant. So in the same way, Prabhupada is explaining that this Ekapad Vibhuti, this 1/4 of the creation, this material manifestation, material universes, is like one of those many mistresses to whom the Krishna is not so much attracted. So that's why Krishna, he doesn't want to come and deal with the material energy. He doesn't want to come and enjoy material sense objects, or he's not attracted. He's aloof from all of that. He is there in the spiritual world. He has his spiritual associates. He is engaging in spiritual enjoyment. Krishna is a supreme enjoyer, so why should he come down and enjoy something which is of so much of a lower quality, material sense enjoyment in the material world? So that's why he's completely aloof from all this material stuff happening in the material universes, and he's enjoying the spiritual world. But then one might ask this question, okay, Krishna is aloof, you're saying that, okay, he's just there in the spiritual world, engaging in spiritual activities with his associates. Then what about the avatars? That's Krishna coming down to material, so why does he come down? So the main reason the Shastras or the Acharyas give of Krishna's descent into material universes, of why Krishna descends down. Just like next week we're having Ram Navami, the appearance of Lord Ramachandra. So someone might say that, okay, paritranaya sadhunam vinasaya cha duskritam, to annihilate the demons, that's why Krishna, he descends into the material universes. But Prabhupada, if we remember from the purport of that text in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, Prabhupada explains that for these demons, Krishna, he doesn't have to personally come. He doesn't have to personally incarnate himself to kill these demons. He has this Durga Devi, he has material nature. Just using Durga Devi or some of his demigods, he can just empower them to finish off these demons, actually. He doesn't have to personally descend down. So that's not the actual reason why Krishna descends. The main reason he descends is for his devotees. What in relation to his devotees? To manifest his pastimes or his lila, so devotees can talk and relish his pastimes, not just for the present, but for thousands and millions and billions of years in the future. So to create or generate topics, transcendental topics of discussion for his devotees, Krishna comes and manifests his pastimes or his leelas. We have material news. Many different material news we'll see coming up on Channel 7, Channel 9, Sunday Morning Herald, this or that. Just like coronavirus, there'll be this outbreak, this news, and for a few days, few weeks or months, that'll be a very hot topic of discussion. Everyone will be talking about that particular material news, whether it be coronavirus or India won the World Cup or this or that. Any kind of material news will be like a big scene, and everyone will be discussing and talking at work, during lunchtime, at school or high school. It will be a hot topic of discussion. But how long can people talk about that topic? Maybe for 1 day, 2 days, a week, or a month. But after that, the topic changes and something else comes up. You can't just talk about that one particular news forever, day in and day out, forever. And so that news, it gets old just after a week or 2 weeks or after a month. People just forget about it and they go on with their life and they think of other things. So that's the nature of material news. But Krishna's pastimes, the Shastra explains, is completely different. Krishna, he just comes once as, let's say, Lord Ram, performs his Leela with his associates, and he goes back to his spiritual work. And he performs so many pastimes. And unlike material news, it's not like after while Lord Ramachandra was present on planet Earth, that everyone was talking about him. All the planet Earth were talking, okay, this person, Lord Ram, he went and he freed Sita, he killed Ravana, he fought like this, he fought like that, he has these monkey soldiers. So it's not like only while Ramachandra was present that he was the hot topic of discussion, that everyone was talking about Lord Ram. And it's not like only for after Lord Ramachandra disappeared, that people were talking about him for a month, 2 months, or a year or 2 years, and then everyone forgot about him and just went on with the life. No, because Krishna is transcendental, his pastimes are also transcendental. And that's why, because his pastimes are absolute, Krishna's glories, whatever action, whatever spiritual news Krishna manifests or he creates by descending as an incarnation, that news is eternally sung, that news is eternally discussed, that news is eternally glorified for thousands and millions and billions of years eternally. So unlike ordinary mundane news, which after a week or two gets dry and boring and we just forget about it and something else comes up, Krishna's transcendental Leela or pastimes that he performs, he just comes once, just performs some pastimes for 100 years and he goes. But those pastimes are ever fresh. And those pastimes are sung and glorified by his devotees. Lord Ramachandra's pastimes, how long ago did he perform? Thousands and millions and billions of years ago. But even today, everywhere, all around the world, Lord Ramachandra's pastimes are discussed. And everyone is relishing whenever Ram Katha is going on. Everyone, when they hear the Ram Katha, they're experiencing so much bliss and pleasure. Even though that news of Lord Ramachandra's pastimes happened so many millions and billions of years ago. So that's the beauty of Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's pastimes are ever fresh. They're eternal. One can go on hearing about them forever and never get tired of them. And time can't limit Krishna's pastimes. Unlike ordinary mundane news, which gets stale after a certain amount of time, no matter when one is born, 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000,000 years after that particular Leela happened, those pastimes will still be discussed. So that's the beauty of Krishna Leela. And that is the main reason why, although Krishna is aloof, he doesn't want to do anything with this material world because he's engaged in spiritual sense gratification in the spiritual world. Still, he descends down, he takes avatars in the material world. Why? To perform his pastimes, to create or generate topics of discussion for his devotees that his devotees can relish and talk about, not just for hundreds of years, but for millions and billions of years, for eternity. Okay, we'll continue on. Next verse. I think I'm supposed to go to text 28. Okay, so we'll go to text number 23. Yadasya nabhyan nalinad aham asamahatmana navedam yagna sambharam purusavayavan rite. When I was born from the abdominal lotus flower of the Lord, Mahavishnu, the great person, I had no ingredients for sacrificial performances except the bodily limbs of the great personality of Godhead. So now Lord Brahma, he's sharing his own personal story, again to emphasize the point of how Krishna is the supreme material cause of this universe. So now Brahma will share his own personal life story of how it was only through Krishna's mercy how everything was created in this material universe. So we'll go to the next text, text 24. Tesu yagnasya pasava savanaspataya kusa idam chadeva yajjanam kalas choru gunan vitaha. For performing sacrificial ceremonies, one requires sacrificial ingredients such as flowers, leaves, straw, along with a sacrificial altar and a suitable time, spring. Text 25. Vastuni osadhaya sneha rasaloha mridojalam richo yajumsi samani chaturhotram chasattama. Other requirements are utensils, grains, clarified butter, honey, gold, earth, water, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and the 4 priests to perform the sacrifice. Text 26. Namadheyani mantrascha dakshinascha vratanicha devatanu kalpa sankalpas tantram evacha. Other necessities include invoking the different names of the demigods by specific hymns and vows of recompense in accordance with the particular scripture for specific purposes and by specific processes. Text 27. Thus, I had to arrange all these necessary ingredients and paraphernalia of sacrifice from the personal, bodily parts of the personal Godhead. By invocation of the demigods' names, the ultimate goal, Vishnu, was gradually attained, and thus compensation and ultimate offering were complete. So, what exactly is Brahma speaking about here? He's saying, okay, I was born from where? From the abdominal lotus flower of the Lord. And he is saying that I had to perform sacrifice, but initially I had no ingredients for sacrificial performances. And how did I end up doing my yagna sacrifices? I had to use the bodily limbs of the person I Godhead. So that's what Lord Brahma is saying in text 27. That for sacrifices, he was explaining many verses how to perform a yagna or sacrifice, one needs so many requirements. For example, one needs sacrificial ingredients such as flowers, leaves, straw, a suitable time, sacrificial altar. One needs utensils, grains, clarified butter, honey, gold, earth, so on. One is to chant mantras from different Vedas. And one is to invoke auspicious hymns and prayers to demigods. So all these, so many different requirements are there to perform these sacrifices. And how did I arrange for this necessary paraphernalia? Brahma is saying, I had to arrange all these necessary ingredients and paraphernalia of sacrifice from the personal bodily parts of the person I Godhead. So in this way, Brahma is remembering, or Brahma is sharing his own story of how he had to again take shelter of the Supreme Lord, and only by his mercy he was able to engage in sacrifices. He had to personally get all the ingredients, the sacrificial ingredients, from the personal bodily limbs of the Lord. So in this way, Brahma is remembering how Krishna helped him in his devotional service. So this is something, mental exercise we can all do. It's recommended that we should always, like in the 6th canto of Bhagavatam, in Ajamil section, when Ajamil, after the Vishnu Dutas come and they leave, Ajamil, who repents for all the sinful activities he's done. And in the purport of that section, Prabhupada explains that it is the duty of every pure devotee to remember his past and to remember what sinful things he did in his past and how fortunate he is now to be engaged in Krishna's service. That way one can develop great gratitude towards the Supreme Lord. So we can always remember of where we were before, how we were suffering so much, how we were so fallen, and how fortunate we are now to be engaged in Radha Gopinath's service, to be engaged in service in the Sangha of the devotees. And we can always meditate how Krishna helped us through so many instances in life. And meditating like this, just like Lord Brahma is meditating, okay, at the start when I was born, Krishna, he helped me, Vishnu, he helped me. When he's meditating like this, it helps us develop that gratitude. And one's determination to serve Krishna's glorious faith increases. So in the same way, we can also meditate of where we were before, how so many instances Krishna helped us, how Krishna helped us come into the Sangha of devotees, how Krishna helped us through that situation when we were in a tough situation in life previously, 1 year ago, 2 years, 5, 10 years ago. So it's very important to remember all these things because they help us develop great gratitude of how tiny and small we are and how dependent we are on Krishna's mercy. And it increases our faith and determination that, yeah, Krishna is out there present with us. He's helped. In my past, he's helped me so much. In the past, I was down here so low, and look at me now. Now I'm serving Radha Gopinath, and I'm second initiated, I'm distributing books, I'm engaged in deity worship. I've come so far in 5 years or 10 years. So yes, this process works. Yes, Krishna is out there with me. So I just have to continue on, and Krishna will further help me in my spiritual life. So we'll stop here. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Tagore Pramanande.